Career stagnation. If you've been a software developer for a few years and you're feeling stuck, if you've been executing your plan to become a great developer, and here you are, you have the great skills, you know all of the tools, the frameworks, you know the commands, the design patterns and the best practices, but you're still in the middle of the heap or on the bottom rung of the ladder, I remember feeling that way. I had great ideas and all that I needed was for people to start seeing me as an authority and to listen to me. What you need is a direction, and from that you want to build a plan. So how do you find a direction so that you can build a plan? The first thing you need to do is to get really clear about what it is that's important to you. I'm going to leave some links in the description, but you should really look up Susie Welch and her Becoming You material. It's really comprehensive, and I think that her values bridge is a great tool. I used it to figure out my values, and it's really given me clarity about what's important to me. I've read her book and found out a bunch of stuff about what makes me tick. Okay, so you know your direction, and you've decided on the gaps. Now you need a plan to fill them. If you're short on leadership experience, look for opportunities to lead. Sign up to a local community board. Join the social club. Coach or manage an amateur sports team, or start a family. If your relationships are getting in the way, then you have some choices. But I think you should be looking around yourself and deciding who has influence and making a plan to find some common ground with them. Find a way to do them a favour and get on the books. Bend their ear and let them know what you're thinking about the way your organisation does business. This is called preparing to influence, and it's a leadership skill. Something a lot of people find useful is a brag book. Being deliberate about recording successes, your part in them, and what the impact was will be handy when you go to ask for a promotion and the associated pay rise. Or, if you find your path blocked when you're interviewing for another role. If you're constantly fighting with your colleagues about technical topics, then there's something to learn here. Active listening and curiosity allow other people to feel heard even when you disagree, and that can help to diffuse the worst of your disagreements. Finding common ground will allow you to progress and build a common cause. You'll want to collect examples of when this has gone well and your part in progressing the discussion and put them in your brag book, because this is a really common behavioural question for interviews for technical roles. Find a mentor. If there are none available within your organisation, take a look around and see if there's someone else. You don't have to become best buddies with them. Sometimes it's enough to find an authority on a topic and immerse yourself in their material. You'll be picking on what they're saying and doing and applying it to your role. Find a way to insert yourself into projects and become an expert on them. Get hold of the code for a system, read and understand it, and start answering colleagues' questions about the topic accurately. Sooner or later, they'll stop just asking you questions about the way things are and will instead start to ask you how they should be. The best way to answer those questions is to prepare by taking some time to read about your industry practices and form some opinions of your own. Ask your line manager to be clear about what would be required for the move that you want to make. This will give you something to aim for, although I'm a little skeptical about this practice in general. I tend to think of this as a stalling tactic on the manager's part. I'm not saying that your boss is going to deliberately work against you, but if you think about their incentives, you'll likely find that there are reasons not to promote you. So in any case, creating and highlighting some tension where there's a mismatch between what your job description says and what you actually do is useful in this circumstance. Your manager will likely ask you to start thinking about your goals, but it's a good idea to be deliberate about setting these so that you can actually achieve them. Two notable acronym-based goal-setting frameworks are SMART and NICE goals. You should look them up. They both work in different ways. SMART goals are a really good way of making a contract with your line manager about what you expect to achieve and and how to tell when you've done that. Nice goals, first described by Ali Abdaal, help you focus on and enjoy the process of doing this short-term things to achieve the goal. These two together are an example of pairing a top-down and a bottom-up approach to solving problems, and as a software developer you will be familiar with both of these. If a pay rise is your goal, I think you should be ready to state to your boss what you think your number is. A good idea is to look up industry statistics and find out what the average for a person like you looks like, and be prepared to say the number. You may also wish to test the market by applying for other roles in your area. Take note though, once you engage with the market, you may find that you get an offer to leave, and you'll have to weigh up the pros and cons of that choice. However, most employers are willing to meet or exceed an offer of employment, and if you've done the work to become a really valuable resource, then you might find that just a whiff of you being out in the market may be enough to motivate leadership to make a change. If this was helpful, you might also be interested in a course that I'm preparing. I'm adding a link to the Google form where you can register for the waitlist in the notes. Talk to you later.